Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we're going to be getting into episode 5 of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And yeah, so to start things off, Aang and the gang are basically traveling. They just came back from that big village and they're ready to visit a new place completely. So I'm going to go to my notes real quick. So, Aang and the gang, they visit the Earth city of Omashu. And whenever he's talking about this Earth city, he's talking about his friend Boomy and how he and him he used to visit him a lot, is what we know from the city. And Katara and Sokka are just kind of amazed of a city that's not made of ice. They're kind of, on edge from what happened last episode after that big village raid. So they get Aang to wear this disguise, and he plays off as an old person through this episode. And yeah, they head over to the gates after he's in disguise, and he was telling them about. In the beginning, he was telling them it was a really nice place. We get to see this one guy that is just a cabbage salesman, and I believe they destroy one of his cabbages, the security at the gate. So next up, Aang's got this disguise, and they're kind of playing this part as grandchildren, and they're checking him out. And Aang's kind of being smartened off like an old person, being cranky like the cranky generic old person. And yeah, they're kind of suspicious of him a little bit at the end. It's not him exactly, but it was Sokka. So they're like, don't let your grandpa carry the bag at the end. It's kind of like, oh, we thought they were going to let him in. Maybe they were suspicious that they're from somewhere else. Anyway, they let him in, and as the gate's closing, so the gate that they use is made of their earth technique, I guess, and I guess the gate people are like earth benders themselves. So to open and close it, they have to use earth bending. But as it's closing, they see Momo coming out of this big wig he's wearing, and it's just funny. And yeah, whenever they are in the city, they're kind of looking around, and it's really nice city, very different than what we're used to seeing. Uh, in this episode, he was having this like throwback to his friend Boomy and what they used to do. It was about this mail system, so it's got these chutes, and they use their earth techniques to kind of shoot it over back and forth and so on. And yeah, so this is kind of like the fun episode where the whole point was for them to have some fun. So they end up doing this sliding on this mail system in like this box. And as they're going down, they're destroying like houses. They're like going on the roofs and sliding across and destroying the roofs. And it just gets crazy where they destroy like a bunch of stuff. And in the end, the poor cabbage guy from earlier, his whole entire stand gets destroyed along with all of his cabbages. And there's like this really funny scene before all that where they kind of pass this training, and the guy that's training was like, "Be prepared to see anything." And there's like a slow shot of them passing by, and yeah, it was just funny and stupid. So they get caught, and we get to meet the king. The king's an old guy, and he's kind of crazy. He laughs weird and just very different. In the beginning, they're like, throw him a feast because they're figuring out what to do with him, and they're all like playing with the innocent puppy eyes, if you know what I mean. So they end up throwing him a feast. After that, they get sent off to the bad refurbished room, and it ends up being actually pretty good for what it was. So Aang tries to get this idea of sending off Momo to go get Appa, but Appa, everyone's like, what is Appa even gonna do? And he's like trying to defend it. Momo can even get inside this vent. It was very small compared to him still. Um, After that, they all go to sleep, I guess, and then wake up. So after they wake up, everyone's missing Katara, Sokka, and it's just Aang. and they come to get him. So in this episode, this is the big thing, is he has to do 3 deadly challenges to atone for his crimes. And what they do is they take away his staff, and yeah, we get to the first task, which is he has to retrieve a lunchbox key, and it's like this waterfall, and there's like a ladder inside the waterfall, and it's really hard because it just pushes you down. So Aang tries to do that once by going under and using the ladder. Second time he tries to shoot himself at it and it doesn't work. Third time there's like all these like sickles like in the water, or not the water but below the fall, and he throws one of them and he hits the key and hits it up right above the king where he has his key. After this, he gets to the second part, and the second part is he has to go get his pet. So he's trying to get this little bunny, and behind him is this big giant bunny thing. I don't even know what it was. It was an atrocity, but it was a cute atrocity. Um, anyway, he keeps chasing it, and it finally goes into this hole, and then he realizes, he's like, oh, which one is his pet? His pet's name is Flopsy. So Flopsy ends up being the giant one, which was the big plot twist of that task. Somewhere between these first 2 challenges, Katara and Sokka are given these rings, and these rings basically grow crystals, and it'll slowly grow to where they can't breathe, or just cover them completely. So for our final task, he has to duel someone, and it's where he has to pick his opponent, and he ends up with, I think, this guy with an axe. I think there's another guy with like a sword or something, and he ends up picking out of the 2 the king, and the king ends up being this crazy earthbender, and he kind of gets Aang at one point with these boulders. He kind of, and then I think one comes down, and we think Aang gets caught, but he doesn't, and he kind of comes at him, and then whenever he comes at him, he has his staff, because he gave him back his staff for this battle. So he goes in, it was like a mock battle. He thought he won, but he looks up, and above him was this giant boulder. And, in the end, Aang, he beat him. He beat him. It was awesome. Well, not really. He technically didn't beat him because he, he got knocked back so much, but finally he goes back up with Katara and Sokka, and from there we get our final task, which is, what is his name? We don't get to know his name. It goes into the future, not in the future, but moments after, and Aang's talking to the king, and he's like, I knew the whole time who it was after these tasks, and it ends up being our buddy Booney from back in the day, from his good old times. So it's one of those aspects that shows you that everything's really aged, but not him. As far as it goes, this was a lesson that Booney was trying to teach him in order to help him think, and it's supposed to help him to think more differently about situations. His whole quest is to defeat the Fire Lord Oza, and I guess that's Aang's main mission. So now we know who he has to fight. So this could be Zuko's dad, is what I'm guessing. I mean, it has to be, right? So now everything's coming into fuller picture and kind of broadened. And of course, in the end, they go back to old times and they use the mail chute to actually ride on. So it ends like the way it started, with their friendship, pretty much. This episode, it's complicated. I remember this one running on TV. I think I explained it as best as I could for this episode, because in the end, this is just a jumbled mess, And the big thing is, it's just a fun, it's just a fun one. It's really funny, this episode is, and it lets us know who the Fire Lord is. So that's the good news. What would I rate it? It's hard to like give this one a good rating. I just didn't feel it. I'll give it like a flat 8. It did have some funny to it, but it didn't carry. I'm not saying this is the worst episode, because there's more episodes to come, but yeah, that just didn't feel like it really went anywhere. Maybe I was expecting a little too much, but still, Aang, I guess, grew, and we get another place covered in his journey. Anyway, guys, tell me what your thoughts are, and is my opinion whack or crazy? I hope you guys stay safe, and yeah, peace.